I'm Wade, one of the guides that gets set up. I've taught hundreds of classes about Gmail, and one question I get a lot is how do I create a distribution list for Gmail? I'm going to show you how you can use Helen, Get Setup's new AI assistant, to answer questions like this and help you find information. Let me share my screen. And there's two different ways you can get to Helen. One is from the home screen. So when you come to getsetup.io, Helen is on the home screen at the top. You can ask Helen a question by typing it here, or you can actually select one of the questions at the bottom. There's lots of good recommendations of things you might want to know about, how you can improve your balance, how to learn about your preventative care benefits, suggest healthy recipes for a diabetic-friendly diet. But if you got a specific question, you can just type it in here. And in this case, we want to know, how do I create a distribution list for Gmail? So I'm going to type that in. And while Helen is generating an answer, I want to point over to the side here, because you can see that the first thing you get are related classes. So here's other questions and other classes related to Gmail. Even one on how to create a distribution list with Gmail. So if you want to take one of these classes, all you have to do is click, and it will take you to that class, which you can watch immediately. You don't have to wait. Yes, I'm going to go back, and because Helen has given me an answer by now. So in order to create a distribution list for Gmail, you have to go to Google Contacts. So, that is the problem that most people have. You don't use Gmail to do distribution lists. You've got to use Contacts and create a new label in Contacts. So you may say, what is a label? I don't understand that concept. Just ask Helen. And while Helen is thinking, the other thing in this side panel on the right, there's also articles. So if I click here, I can see related articles that I may want to read. So I can just come through to any of these and click on one of those to bring up that article and read that article. But by now, my answer is probably back, so I'll come back over. And what are labels? And labels are used for grouping contacts. Okay, that makes sense. That's what I want to do. I want to create a distribution list for my family or for my work, or maybe community groups that I'm affiliated with. So it makes sense that that's how that would work. But maybe I'm not quite sure even how I want to use the distribution list. So I could ask Helen, give me 5 examples of distribution lists for Gmail. So Helen is really good at giving you examples of ways to do something. So if you're not quite sure a good way to do something, ask her for some examples. So you could have family distribution lists, work colleagues, friends. If you're in a book club, you could have a book club group, volunteer group, lots of different groups. You might want to have a distribution group to use with your Gmail. And again, you could keep this conversation going by clicking on one of these suggested answers here. How large email lists maintain personal connections? How can large attachments be sent using Gmail limits, etc.? Or you could type in something totally different. So I'm done with distribution lists, but while I'm here talking to Helen, maybe I want to know some tips and tricks for using Gmail. So I could just say, what are the top 5 tips and tricks for Gmail? So let's guess, Helen, what she thinks are some of the tips and tricks that would make me more efficient in using Gmail. And keyboard shortcuts, using labels and filters. We already talked about labels. Snoozing emails, scheduling emails, using Smart Compose, Smart Replies. I can now go back and say, tell me how to snooze an email if I don't really understand it from this description. So you can have long conversations with Helen, getting lots of information to make you much more tech savvy. And she's available 24/7, 365, anytime you have a question. So thanks. Hopefully this has given you some good information to use to better understand how to